She was born sixth in line to the most famous throne in the world, yet she was never expected to wear the crown. She was the granddaughter of Queen Elizabeth II, the daughter of a princess, the niece of a king, but unlike so many members of the royal family, she never carried the title of princess or Her Royal Highness. She was simply Zara Phillips. That wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate choice made by her mother before Zara was even old enough to understand what it meant. Looking back now, that single decision shaped the entire course of her life in ways almost nobody could have predicted. Then came June 2026, when Zara stepped into Royal Ascot looking completely at ease in a custom lilac outfit designed by Rebecca Valance. As an Olympic silver medalist, world champion equestrian, and one of Britain's most respected horsewomen, she didn't need a royal title to command attention. She had earned every bit of admiration through years of dedication, hard work, and success. But to understand how she reached that point, you have to go back to where it all started, because her story began during one of the most complicated chapters in modern royal history. Zara Ann Elizabeth Phillips was born on May 15, 1981, at St. Mary's Hospital in London. It was the very same hospital where, just over a year later, her cousin William would be born, helping turn the location into one of the most recognizable royal maternity hospitals in the world. Even her first name had royal roots. It was reportedly suggested by her uncle, then the Prince of Wales. Soon afterward, Zara was baptized in the private chapel at Windsor Castle, surrounded by generations of royal tradition. From the outside, everything appeared perfect. She had been born into enormous privilege, surrounded by history, wealth, and one of the world's most famous families. But behind those palace walls, things were already beginning to change. Her parents, Anne, Princess Royal, and Captain Mark Phillips, had married in a spectacular ceremony at Westminster Abbey in 1973. Around 500 million people watched their wedding, making it one of the biggest royal broadcasts of its time. Their relationship seemed built on genuine shared passion rather than royal expectation. Both were elite equestrians who bonded through competition, discipline, and a lifelong love of horses instead of palace politics. As the years passed, however, cracks slowly appeared. By the time Zara was born, Anne and Mark were reportedly spending more time apart. Their careers were taking them in different directions. Anne devoted herself more deeply to royal responsibilities, while Mark focused increasingly on his equestrian business interests. Reports from the time describe them leading separate lives, traveling independently, and growing further apart. Later developments would make it clear that their marriage was under even greater strain than many people realized. In 1985, while still married to Anne, Mark Phillips fathered a daughter named Felicity with New Zealand art teacher Heather Tonkin. For years, the arrangement remained largely out of public view. Phillips reportedly provided financial support while describing those payments as consulting fees connected to equestrian work. That changed dramatically in 1991 when disagreements over the payments led Tonkin to speak publicly. A DNA test confirmed Phillips was Felicity's father, and the revelation quickly dominated newspaper headlines across Britain. The timing could hardly have been worse for the royal family. Other marriages inside the monarchy were already facing enormous public scrutiny. Charles and Diana's relationship was unraveling before the world's eyes, while Andrew and Sarah Ferguson were also separating. The monarchy seemed surrounded by personal turmoil from every direction. Queen Elizabeth II would later refer to 1992 as her famous Annus Horribilis, or horrible year, because so many painful events struck the family within such a short period. That same year, Anne and Mark officially finalized their divorce. Court proceedings reportedly lasted less than 5 minutes, bringing another royal marriage to an end. For young Zara, however, this wasn't simply another newspaper headline. Her parents had announced their separation back in 1989, when she was only 8 years old, and by 1992, the reality had become permanent. Her childhood had changed forever. Following the divorce, Zara and her older brother Peter continued living with their mother at Gatcombe Park. Their father remained nearby at Aston Farm, located on the same estate. The arrangement allowed him to remain part of their lives, while also reflecting the reality that the marriage itself had ended. Even though their parents remained close enough for family contact, life would never quite look the same again. Yet another important decision had already shaped Zara's future long before she could appreciate its significance. Unlike many of her royal cousins, she never received a royal title. According to rules established by King George V in 1917, grandchildren of the monarch through daughters are not automatically entitled to be called prince or princess. Even so, Queen Elizabeth II reportedly offered to make an exception for Anne's children. Anne politely declined. She first turned down the offer after Peter was born in 1977, and then again when Zara arrived in 1981. Rather than accepting special treatment, Anne asked that neither of her children receive royal titles. Years later, speaking about the decision, she explained her reasoning with remarkable honesty. "I think most people would argue that there are downsides to having titles. It was a simple statement, but one that completely changed the direction of Zara's life. At first glance, that choice might not seem especially dramatic, but it was quietly revolutionary. During an era when royal life was becoming more heavily scrutinized than ever before, Anne deliberately gave her children the chance to grow up with greater independence. While other young royals faced constant expectations attached to HRH status, Zara was allowed to build an identity based far more on personal achievement than royal rank. She still lived close to the monarchy, but she wasn't confined by every rule that often came with carrying a title. Years later, Zara made it clear she appreciated the decision. Speaking on the Total Sport podcast in December 2023, she reflected on her upbringing by saying, "I was obviously very lucky that my mother didn't give us any titles. We were very lucky that we got to do it a bit our own way." Those words revealed just how much that early choice had influenced her life. She understood that while titles can bring prestige, they also come with enormous expectations and relentless public attention. Still, freedom came with its own unique challenges. Zara grew up close enough to attend royal occasions, appear on palace balconies, and participate in family celebrations. Yet she also had to create her own path without relying on an official royal position. She occupied a rare space between royal privilege and ordinary independence. Success would have to come from talent, determination, and hard work rather than inherited status alone. Fortunately, she had plenty of talent. Inspired by both her mother and father, Zara devoted herself to eventing with incredible determination. Horses became far more than a family tradition. They became her passion. She attended Gordonstoun in Scotland, the same demanding school once attended by her Uncle Charles, where she excelled in sports, including hockey, athletics, and gymnastics. The environment rewarded discipline and resilience, qualities that would later define her sporting career. After school, Zara continued her education at the University of Exeter before qualifying as an equine physiotherapist. Rather than relying solely on family connections within the horse world, she developed technical expertise and practical knowledge that deepened her understanding of equestrian sport. It was another example of the path her mother had chosen for her years earlier, one built not around royal titles, but around real achievement, genuine skill, and earning success through dedication every single step of the way. Her greatest triumphs and her most painful setbacks were tied to one remarkable horse, Toy Town. Together, they became one of the strongest partnerships in modern eventing. Riding Toy Town, Zara captured both the individual and team gold medals at the 2005 European Eventing Championship at Blenheim, proving she wasn't simply another member of the royal family trying a hobby. She was competing against the very best in the world and beating them. The momentum only grew stronger. In 2006, Zara and Toy Town traveled to the FEI World Equestrian Games in Aachen, Germany. There she delivered the performance of her career, claiming the individual world championship and becoming the reigning world champion in eventing. It was a massive achievement that placed her among the sport's true elite and confirmed that her success had absolutely nothing to do with her famous surname. The accomplishment carried extra meaning because her mother, Princess Anne, had also enjoyed an outstanding equestrian career, winning the European three-day event championship back in 1971. But Zara had now reached an even higher level on the international stage. She wasn't following in Anne's footsteps anymore. She was creating a legacy all her own. Later that same year came another unforgettable moment. The BBC named Zara its Sports Personality of the Year for 2006, the exact same honor her mother had received 35 years earlier. It felt almost too perfect to believe. 2 generations, 2 remarkable horsewomen, and the same prestigious award. It was one of those rare family moments that seemed almost written for a movie. But sport has a cruel way of testing even its biggest champions. Just as Zara appeared ready to conquer everything, heartbreaking setbacks began arriving one after another. Before the 2004 Athens Olympics, Toy Town suffered an injury that forced Zara to withdraw before she even had the chance to compete. 4 years later, history repeated itself. Another injury kept Toy Town out of the 2008 Beijing Olympics, crushing Zara's Olympic dream for a second time. Then came an even more devastating chapter. On October 25, 2008, Zara was competing in a cross-country event in Pau, France, riding Tsunami 2 when disaster struck. She fell during the course and broke her right collarbone. Tragically, Tsunami 2 sustained catastrophic injuries during the accident and could not be saved. It was an emotional moment that sent shockwaves through the equestrian community and served as a painful reminder that eventing is one of the most demanding and dangerous sports in the world. Many people would have stepped away after experiences like that. Zara didn't. She fought through the physical recovery, dealt with the emotional loss, and gradually returned to top-level competition. That determination finally paid off at the 2012 London Olympics. Riding High Kingdom, Zara helped Great Britain win the team silver medal in eventing. The moment became even more emotional when the medal was presented by none other than her mother, Princess Anne, who was serving as president of the British Olympic Association. It was an unforgettable family scene. Anne had competed herself at the 1976 Montreal Olympics, but had never won an Olympic medal. Now she stood proudly placing one around her daughter's neck. Few sporting moments could have carried greater emotional weight. It wasn't simply a medal ceremony. It was the culmination of decades of dedication shared across two generations of one extraordinary family. While the public celebrated Zara's achievements, far more personal struggles unfolded quietly behind the scenes. After welcoming her first daughter, Mia, in 2014, Zara experienced 2 miscarriages before later giving birth to her second daughter, Lena, in 2018. Rather than keeping those experiences completely private, she chose to speak openly about them. It was an unusually personal step for someone who had spent most of her life balancing public attention with a fiercely protected private life. Her honesty resonated with countless families facing similar heartbreak. By sharing her own experiences, Zara helped normalize conversations that many people found incredibly difficult. She demonstrated that strength isn't only measured through medals and championships. Sometimes it comes from simply speaking honestly about life's hardest moments and allowing others to know they are not alone. Meanwhile, her older brother Peter followed his own path outside official royal duties. He built a career in sports management, married Canadian Autumn Kelly, later divorced, and in June 2026 married NHS nurse Harriet Sperling at All Saints Church in Kemble, near Cirencester. Just 2 weeks later, Harriet made her first appearance in the royal Ascot procession alongside Princess Anne, riding in the second carriage as Mrs. Peter Phillips. It was a subtle but meaningful sign that this untitled branch of the royal family continued to play an important role within the wider family circle. As for Zara, she remained one of the standout figures at Royal Ascot. Wearing her elegant lilac Rebecca Valance outfit, she once again showed why she has become such a familiar and admired presence during Britain's biggest racing events. She moves through the royal enclosure with complete confidence, not because of a title, but because she has spent decades earning genuine respect through her accomplishments, personality, and love of the sport. Year after year, Ascot has become almost a second home for her. Whether she's discussing racing, supporting family members, or showcasing timeless fashion, Zara brings an authenticity that many people admire. She never needed the letters HRH before her name to belong. Her place was secured through character, consistency, and years of hard-earned success. Although Zara was born 6th in the line of succession, she now sits much further down the order as younger generations of the royal family continue to grow. Realistically, the throne was never part of her future, yet influence isn't measured by succession alone. Zara Tindall became a world champion, an Olympic medalist, a respected horsewoman, a devoted mother, and someone who has faced both triumph and heartbreak with remarkable resilience. None of those achievements required a royal title. Today, her own children, Mia, Lena, and Lucas, also grow up without royal titles. The decision Princess Anne made back in 1981 continues shaping the family decades later. In many ways, it has become one of the most remarkable choices in modern royal history. Sometimes the greatest legacy isn't the title you inherit, it's the freedom you pass on to the next generation. Looking back, Zara Tindall's life tells a very different royal story from the one most people expect. She was born into one of the world's most famous families, surrounded by history, tradition, and unimaginable privilege. Yet the path she followed was built less on royal status and far more on personal determination. Every major milestone she reached came through hard work rather than inherited titles. That may be the greatest lesson her life offers. While many members of the royal family are remembered for ceremonies, official duties, or constitutional roles, Zara built her reputation in muddy fields, Olympic arenas, and international competitions. She earned the respect of fellow athletes long before she became a fashion favorite at Royal Ascot. Her victories belonged to her alone, and so did her setbacks. Every injury, every disappointment, and every comeback added another chapter to a life defined by resilience instead of privilege. Perhaps that's exactly what Princess Anne hoped would happen when she declined royal titles for her children all those years ago. It was a decision that puzzled many people at the time, but decades later, its impact is impossible to ignore. Zara grew up with enough freedom to create her own career while still remaining close to the family she loves. She never had to carry the expectations that often come with being called princess, yet she has always represented the royal family with dignity whenever she has appeared alongside them. Over the years, the monarchy itself has continued to evolve. New generations have arrived, lines of succession have shifted, and public expectations have changed dramatically. Through every chapter, Zara has remained one of the most admired members of the extended royal family. She has never needed an official role to make an impression. Instead, she has quietly shown that service, loyalty, and commitment can exist without a royal title attached to your name. Her story also reminds us that real strength is often found far away from the cameras. The public celebrated her medals and championships, but only later learned about many of the private challenges she had faced along the way. Through those experiences, Zara showed a different kind of courage, one built on honesty, perseverance, and the willingness to keep moving forward even after life's most painful moments. Those qualities have earned admiration that no title could ever guarantee. Today, Zara continues balancing family life, equestrian passions, charitable work, and public appearances with the same calm confidence that has defined her for decades. Whether she is attending Royal Ascot, supporting British sport, or simply spending time with her family, she remains remarkably grounded. In many ways, she has become proof that sometimes the strongest royal identity is the one that isn't defined by formal rank at all. As the royal family continues writing its next chapter, Zara's place within it remains unique. She stands close enough to understand every tradition, yet independent enough to live life largely on her own terms. That rare balance has allowed her to become one of the monarchy's most relatable and respected figures. It is a position few could have predicted when Princess Anne made that quiet decision more than 4 decades ago. Sometimes history isn't shaped by the crown someone wears. Sometimes it's shaped by the crown they choose to walk away from. Zara Tindall's remarkable journey shows that legacy is measured not by titles, but by character, perseverance, and the example left behind for future generations. In the end, she didn't need to become a princess to inspire millions. She simply became herself. And for many people, that has proven to be far more extraordinary. If you enjoyed this look into Zara Tindall's incredible journey, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the stories shaping the royal family. And let us know in the comments, do you think Princess Anne made the right decision by refusing royal titles for her children? Or would Zara's life have been very different if she had grown up as a princess? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.